So being as vague as possible because Crumb Catcher's yet another example of a film you want to go into blind to get the maximum enjoyment out of. Follows this couple, they just got married, had their wedding. The next night they're having their honeymoon and they're renting this place. They're alone in the middle of the night. This weird guy shows up that they're kind of not familiar with, but they saw him at the wedding reception. And he offers them the deal of a lifetime to invest in his product called the Crumb Catcher. And if you're thinking that sounds very weird and bizarre, that's because it is. How would you feel if a guy showed up in the middle of the night offering you a gimmicky, stupid product?
So who wants to try first?
I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out.
This guy shows up looking like a decrepit butler, like the guy from Scary Movie 2 with the weird hand. Take my strong hand. And he's trying to get him to buy the Crumb Catcher product and invest in it. And you're just spending so much time looking at this weirdo and just kind of laughing along with the fact that he just looks like such a goof. You can't help but enjoy it. I'm sure your brain's going all over the place and you're thinking, where could this movie possibly go with such a weird premise? That's exactly where I was and why I was interested to check this out. And it's kind of an interesting tone they choose to go for this film because it's kind of a horror film, a dark comedy film, downright weird, sometimes a thriller, a drama. I feel like it's just the absolute melting pot of every genre in one. They just stuck a little bit of everything in this movie, which is kind of unique and also kind of frustrating and annoying at times. Getting into the positives of this film, by far the biggest standout to me is the guy John. He's like the guy who shows up at the cabin pitching this investment to this couple. But he stands out pretty well. I think he's pretty good at acting in this. I think his role is generally creepy, funny at times. He's all over the place. I think that's where this movie's at its strongest, when you're kind of not sure what's going on. Because this guy shows up, he's pitching this investment in the middle of the night for an asinine product. It's just this very unnerving and also kind of comedic situation that these characters find themselves in. That's when the movie's at its strongest, when you're still guessing. Getting back to what I said just a minute ago, the actual premise of this thing was pretty cool and weird and interesting to me. You know, again, the guy showing up in the middle of the night, pitching this investment plan, kind of a spin on the thought you'd have as a home invasion having a stranger show up, because he's not actually threatening. He's just a goofball when he shows up, but just weird. And I was intrigued, you know, where's it going to go with this? But the problem I have is it's one of those films that the more you figure out, and just generally speaking, it's pretty predictable in where it ends up going. So when like the veil is lifted and the mystery starts dying off, there's not too much substance under it to keep you that interested. This is also a textbook example of something I've complained about in previous movies on this channel, where you have this premise that's incredibly weird, but it's also open-ended, where you could go so many different ways. As I'm saying this, you're probably concocting things in your head. Where could they go with this movie? All the weird things, all the twists and the turns. And when you're thinking about it, every single thing your brain's probably conceiving right now about where this thing goes, I almost guarantee is more interesting than what you actually get. So it's the old analogy, you know, of like the monster's scarier before you see it. Yeah, this movie's a lot more interesting before you actually start fleshing out and finding out what it's about. Starting with the opening scene of this film, I did not find the main two characters' marriage believable at all, and that's kind of a big problem. I know it's part of the plot point and like the plot device to move it forward, the turmoil in their relationship. I just didn't see these guys getting married. I did not think they were compatible at all. So anytime they talked about their relationship, all of the stuff in the dialogue related to that, I thought it was completely unbelievable. I thought they were miscast completely. Acting was fine, I guess. It was just the way they were written to be believable. Didn't buy it at all. And something that's kind of a problem about that, she spends so much time with this couple and this really weird, kooky old guy that, you know, you just spend the whole runtime with these very weird and eccentric and unlikable characters. So on top of the natural awkwardness that a premise like this would have, it's just very uncomfortable to watch. And not uncomfortable like it's designed to be. Maybe it is. But it's just not fun uncomfortable because you're spending time with people you don't want to be with. I know saying all of that sounds like I absolutely hated watching this, but I didn't. Like, I didn't despise this film or anything. I think there's objectively a lot of good stuff. Like, I would even say there's a really good movie to the core hidden in this somewhere under all of like the slop and the rubble of it. It's just, when I think about my viewing experience, I don't think I really enjoyed watching it. It was the thing. Like, there's some good stuff, but it was I was actually pretty engaged and on board for the first half of it before the reveal and everything, before I think it loses steam, because I think it's the example of a lot of modern movies where it's almost 2 hours long. You should probably shave off at least 20 to 30 minutes of it. It just felt kind of filler, because the second half of this thing, I felt like an eternity. Like, I hyperbole obviously, but I kind of hated the second half of this thing. It just felt like it never ended. It felt like it ended 5 times in a row. My experience watching it went pretty much like this when I thought it was going to end. It's got to be coming to a close here. Yeah, I think it's over. No? Okay, it's not over. Now it's over. No? Wait, why are they getting in a car chase now? What the fuck? I don't know. If you can't tell, this is one of the weirdest movies I saw this year and one of the weirdest movies to review and rate and give my perspective on if I liked it or hated it and all of that stuff. It's just so over the place. If any of the stuff about the general premise sounds interesting, it might be worth checking out. I just thought after you dredge through to the finish line, you get through the second half, it just keeps kind of going and going. It all just ultimately felt kind of pointless, so I don't know. Only watch it if you got nothing better to do. You can't find a hidden gem with every indie movie you watch, but this one was pretty forgettable except for the goofy Shark Tank pitch he goes on. Might have had Mr. Wonderful that one. So have you guys seen or heard of Crumb Catcher? Do you think the general premise sounds interesting at all? Comment down below, let me know. As always, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, what the hell are you waiting for? I do it all on this channel. New releases, scary stuff, tier list. Join me down below. We'd love to have you. I'll talk to you in the next video. Peace.